Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of our UPHS workshops here. My name is Justin Fitzpatrick, and I am happy to serve as the Membership and Communications Coordinator for United Partners for Human Services. I am joined by LaShawn Gordon, our Director of Strategic Initiatives, and we are here to offer workplace wellness and resilience. This will be presented by none other than Dr. Michelle Mitchem, who many of you know in the community as the CEO and publisher of the Tallahassee Women's Magazine, but she is a mental health counselor and a various clinical supervisor within the state of Florida in various areas within family and child support, as well as mental health. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and pass off the microphone to Dr. Michelle Mitchem.
Good morning. Good morning. Can everybody hear me? All right. So this is such an important topic, and thank you so much to the entire team. Thank you, LaShawn, Justin, thank you for inviting me. And this topic of workplace wellness is near and dear to everyone's heart. And we know that a lot of people left the workplace, right? There was a big resignation and millions of people were leaving work every month during COVID and since then. And so there's a reason for that. Resilience is so important. So let's dive right in. And then I guess if there are any questions, you could put them in the chat box or something, maybe to LaShawn and Justin, and you'll let me know later if there are any questions. How does that sound? Okay. So what I want you to know is that in this 1 hour, I'm trying to bring a little bit of everything. And I just want to remind you that I'm a professor, so I teach graduate school and I teach counselors how to be counselors. And so we talk about all these things, but so this topic and many topics within what I'm speaking about have 45 hours of content and an entire course to go with it. So we're really just skimming the surface. So let's dive right in. Okay, so let me close this up. Okay, so what is workplace resilience? And so this refers to your ability to adapt, to cope with stress and adversity in the workplace. It involves, of course, bouncing back. How do you bounce back after maybe a reorganization, a layoff? There's other things that happen in the workplace, like the flattening effect. And that's where there were 5 or maybe 6 different roles. And they'll call you in one day and say, hey, LaShawn, this is not a real example. So-and-so is leaving now, or we're getting rid of this position. And instead of that person doing this role and another person doing that role and you doing your role, we have rewritten the job description and you are such a great team member. So we're just going to roll all those jobs. And I know we're not going to give you more pay, but it's all about the cause. So the flattening effect has happened as well. So adjustment is very important. How do you bounce back and how you maintain a positive attitude and stay focused on goals despite challenges, because there are challenges. Okay, so there are several components of resiliency in the workplace. And so climate, what is a climate like? What is done in your workplace, even if you're working online, with your office, with your department, with your organization? How do you all, I guess, set the atmosphere, and cultivate an atmosphere conducive to the work that you do as human service professionals? What is the tone? What is the culture? How do you all communicate? Is there a sense of community? I know a lot of people talk about compassion, especially with human services, but, we'll talk later about, compassion fatigue is a real thing. So climate, culture, communication, community, and compassion are very important. So what are the psychological, emotional, and physical benefits of being resilient? We have psychological benefits, right? It helps us reduce stress, anxiety, and a lot of people know the signs of stress, right? Sometimes if you're having a panic attack, which is an extreme level of stress, your hands start sweating, you don't know what's about to happen next. And it's a very eerie feeling that your heart could be racing. Anxiety can get to a point where it can actually paralyze you and you just can't move because you're so paralyzed by stress. So psychological benefits is reducing stress and anxiety. And know that there's good stress and bad stress. There's distress. There's if someone's in distress, that's a bad thing. But the positive stress can motivate us, which is called eustress, right? With the EU. Anyway, so psychological benefits are many, and it helps us to remember why we do what we do. What are the emotional benefits? Emotional regulation, right? Have you ever talked to someone and they're really stressed out, they're doing this work, and you ask them, how are you doing today? And they'll say, I am doing just fine. You're like, oh, ouch. So sometimes people are stressed out, they have compassion fatigue, and they are not cognizant, they're not aware. So a part of this whole conversation is there's three buckets. There's awareness, knowledge, and skills. If you're not even aware, you can't do anything about it. So I really commend LaShawn and the team for putting this together, because awareness is so important, then the knowledge, and then the skills. And that takes time to learn all of that and put it together. It's important to promote positive relationships with colleagues and clients. Those are the emotional benefits. It's nice if you can get along and like the people that you work with and the team. Remember the purpose and the mission and the vision. What are the physical benefits? It can help you improve physical health by reducing the risk of stress-related illnesses. There are a lot of people that are having heart attacks and just, getting very sick or dying. If you do not practice resilience in all these different ways, it can shorten your lifespan. That's really important to know. Okay. Here's just some research on productivity. You probably already know this. Research has shown that a resilient workforce can have a positive impact on productivity and the people you serve, the impact. So there's a lot of research on that, on being resilient. It makes you more productive, more engaged, more committed. And so resilient employees have a higher level of innovation and creativity, satisfaction for those that you serve, for all of the stakeholders, and also retention. We see a lot of people, I just talked about it, leaving their jobs. And so you can actually stay engaged. And one thing is to recruit people, but how do you retain them? Resiliency is a part of retention. That should be a slide. Resiliency is a part of retention. It's very important. And I guess I should put this maybe on here just in case someone has a question, so I can see. So here's another definition of resilience: the capacity to adapt. So I want you to key in on that word adapt. To adapt and to adjust and to pivot is different for everybody. Some people have a hard time adapting to changes, policy changes, caseload changes. I used to work at the Department of Children and Families. I also was a medical disability adjudicator. And I remember we had to adapt and pivot all the time. And sometimes it feels like the work that we do it feels like standing under Niagara Falls, trying to catch all the water with a teacup. It's impossible. Sometimes it just feels overwhelming. So resiliency is a capacity to adapt to changing circumstances, to maintain and regain one's balance. Another word for that is your equanimity. How do you maintain your balance and your equanimity? That homeostasis. How do you move forward with hope, purpose, and despite the odds? So we're going to get into that a little bit deeper. Okay. I want you to think about what are some challenges to becoming or being resilient in the workplace. And those are things I just want you to think about. And this is something, LaShawn, you can save for later. If you feel comfortable, put some of those things maybe in the chat box, because we really don't have time for a huge parent share because this is a very large group today. So just I want you to think about mentally, what are the challenges for you to become or remain resilient in the workplace? Think about that. Think about your challenges for your organization, for your department, for what you do, for your coworkers. Think about that. So here are some challenges that you may be thinking of already, and we're going to move pretty quickly through this. So, sorry. High workload and job demands, Poor work-life balance, lack of support. Sometimes we don't feel supported by our colleagues, from our supervisors. Sometimes there are ambiguous expectations. One of the things I know that a lot of times people go to their annual review and there's some things in there that are just bizarre. And you're wondering, this person tripping out, what are they doing? What are they talking about? So sometimes your job expectations are ambiguous. There's role ambiguity, and maybe it wasn't really explained clearly. Sometimes we don't have the appropriate training, and it's a lot of documentation I know that goes with that, but there's a lot here. Maybe you have limited opportunities for professional development, for growth. Again, poor communication, conflict resolution skills. Where do we get our conflict resolution skills? I'm also a Florida Supreme Court certified family mediator. So conflict resolution is all about having win-win outcomes for everybody, and having that conversation and engaging in difficult dialogue and courageous conversations to figure out what the problem is and appreciating different perspectives. We'll talk more about that later. Workplace bullying, harassment, microaggressions. There's a lot that goes. I'm a DEI expert, so that's another 45 hours of content. Organizational change, restructuring, lack of recognition and rewards for good work. It doesn't cost us anything to compliment someone, right? Not a thing. Let people know what they're doing great. There might be a few things that they're not doing great, but let people know these are things you're doing great. Don't tell them, oh, here are your weaknesses. Tell them, you did a great job with this, this, and this. However, there may be some missed opportunities over in this category, in this area. So let's talk about the missed opportunities, but I want you to know what you're doing great. Inadequate resources and support for mental health and well-being. Again, kudos that you all having this training, because we need more. Mental health wellness is very important. Here's some strategies for creating resilience at work. Fostering a positive work environment. We talked about what is the climate. How do you encourage positivity and optimism in the workplace? By celebrating other successes, recognizing their achievements, and promoting a culture of gratitude. Random acts of kindness, encouraging self-care, encouraging employees to take their physical and mental health seriously by providing the resources. Maybe at lunchtime, start a walking group. Say, hey, let's everybody walk for 15 minutes and go outside, or eat outside for a moment, or just ask somebody how they're doing. Healthy eating. I know cupcakes are nice, but maybe cupcakes aren't the best thing to bring to a luncheon. Maybe you can bring some protein bars or something like that. Stress management is very important. I know we have EAP services. Always provide opportunities for growth and professional development. That really helps people to engage in skills, advance their careers, be motivated to know that, they really appreciate what I'm doing. And it's part of continuous improvement. And we constantly learn. That also really extends our lifespan, right? Foster open communication. Encourage honest communication between employees and management. But this has to start from the top. It starts in the C-suite. It starts in leadership, with the executive leadership level, and on all levels. Encourage that. We don't always be the person that's right in the room. Be open to feedback no matter what level. The smartest person in the room is a person that can appreciate all perspectives, right? Promote work-life balance. There's some people that stay after work all the time, and they don't have to. Instead of getting off at 5 o'clock, they're like, I just want to stay later. I need to work a few more hours. I took work home with me. That's really not important. There's that saying, people say, do you live to work, or are you working to live? So, that balance can be off. There are many, many strategies. Providing support for mental health and well-being. So providing that is great. Tons of resources. Again, EAP programs encourage teamwork and collaboration. When people get together as teams and they collaborate, that really fosters a sense of belonging, right? And cross-functional teams are very creative. We already talked about providing recognition, rewards, and encourage problem solving. So these are things that you may already know. Fostering a sense of purpose. What can you do better? So when I'm presenting all of these things, I want you on your own, maybe take some notes like a SWOT analysis. And if you haven't done one before, that's like a chart, right? It's SWOT. So you look at the strengths, weaknesses. And so what I end up doing, and there's many of these online, I'll just show you. So on a SWOT analysis, what you would do is you write your goal. What is your goal? And so it looks something like this. This is really bad, but you write your goal statement, your goal. What is your goal? And then you write and ask a question. What are my strengths that I have that can help me to achieve this goal and to bring this to fruition? What are some weaknesses, or forget the W? What are some areas for improvement? I think weakness has a negative connotation. What are some areas for improvement that will help me to achieve this goal that I've outlined at the top? Then for the O, what are some opportunities? That's the hardest thing when it comes to a SWOT analysis, but I want you to do one for wellness and resiliency in the workplace. What are some opportunities that you haven't yet thought about that would help you to reach your goal for wellness? So for the O, again, this is another training, but I'll throw it in there. Use the scamper technique. So just Google scamper. That's a lateral brainstorming tool that actually helps us with the O and the SWOT. Okay. And then, of course, the T, threats. What are some real or perceived threats that prevent you from achieving your goal for wellness in the workplace, personal wellness, mental health, mental wellness, resilience? What are some perceived or real threats that prevent you from achieving that goal? Okay. So emotional intelligence. In the description for this presentation today, it mentioned emotional intelligence. What does emotional intelligence have to do with resilience? A lot. So what role does emotional intelligence, or EQ, play in resilience? I want you to think about that. If we were in a room for 4 hours, we would be getting in groups and talking about this and brainstorming. Emotional intelligence is very important. We start learning emotional intelligence as a child. We learn emotional intelligence from our family of origin. We have different caregivers, sometimes a mother, father, grandmother, aunt, uncle, other people. And oftentimes we internalize hook, line, and sinker, or model, or internalize rather, what we see being modeled for us. And some people carry that level of emotional intelligence, or IQ, all the way into adulthood, and they sometimes have blind spots, right? And that's another exercise we could do later, Johari's window. What are your blind spots? So what is emotional intelligence? It is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and effectively express one's emotions effectively. And what is the operational definition of effectively? That's not slamming doors, yelling at people in their face, being dismissive. So effectively, as well as the ability to perceive, interpret, and respond to the emotions of others. Sometimes we don't have that emotional regulation because of our own trauma, of things that have happened. Maybe we are upset, and in the workplace, we haven't had workplace wellness and we're burnt out. Maybe there's compassion fatigue. So also it involves a set of skills that enable individuals to navigate and interact with their own emotions and the emotions of those around them. We have to develop empathy, right? The ability to walk in somebody else's moccasins for a mile. What is that person feeling? Where's that coming from? Why am I reacting to that? I'm triggered. That really irritated me. Where did that come from? I encourage people to stop, pause, and figure out what is triggering me. There's a cognition, is what you're thinking. That's why I have this picture here. What are you thinking? What happened? Then after the cognition, there's your emotions, or your affect, right? If you remember CAB, there's your cognition, there's your affect, right? And then there's the behavior. So the cognition, something happened, someone slammed a door in your face, then your emotions, you were angry, and what was your behavior that followed? You walked out. So it's important to understand that cycle and to increase your emotional intelligence, and that increases so much. Let's talk about that more. Emotional intelligence has everything to do with resilience. Not everything, there is more, like I said. Self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, social skills, stress management. Emotional intelligence helps you develop stress management skills, which can help you cope with workplace stress, adversity. This can help you maintain that positive attitude and stay focused on the goals. Stay focused on what's important. Who are you serving? Again, who are the recipients of the work that you do? Why do you do what you do? So these are things, again, I can share this with LaShawn, self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy. That's really a big one. I don't know what's happening these days. A lot of things are happening in the world, happening right here in our town. What's going on with empathy and also social skills? Those big C's, communication, collaboration, conflict resolution, very important. Let's look at some more. Emotional intelligence can help us with mindfulness. How can you stay present in this moment and reduce your stress and anxiety? Have you ever been in a meeting and you ask people to say, hey, here's an issue. Let's brainstorm to solve it. There's always that one person in the room that's saying, well, 2 years ago, this is what happened. And we never did resolve that. Or there 1 year ago or a week ago. There are some people that are stuck in the past. They are driving down I-10, looking in the rearview mirror, and that person is crashing and they are not aware. They're not practicing mindfulness. So it's important to stay in the here and now, in the present, to be cognizant about what's going on, how you're feeling, what the plan is for moving forward, then communicating that. Positive thinking can be very important. If you have a positive mindset and you're open-minded, it can help you stay optimistic, face challenges, brainstorm on solutions. Again, that work-life balance. A lot of stuff is going on. People have stuff going on in their personal life. They have diagnoses, they have children. Many people are caregivers. So what are you doing for that balance? Do you have a self-care plan? I encourage you to make another SWOT analysis just for your personal self-care plan. What is your self-care plan? And be very territorial about your self-care plan to make sure you get in what you need. Like this morning, I went walking for an hour early this morning because I needed to get that walk in before it turned 87 degrees. Support networks. Emotional intelligence can help individuals develop strong support networks, which can provide a sense of community during times of stress and anxiety. I want you to know that you are not alone. With risk and courage, you can redefine what is possible in your life and in the workplace. Try something new. If something's not working, don't continue doing that. It can perpetuate your stress. Try something different, okay? Continuous learning. We talked about that. Continuous learning also helps people prevent dementia. Continuous learning, reading, communicating. So here, this is my question for you. Did you know that and I could not have this presentation without mentioning and including this because it's a part of resilience. There is no EQ without DQ. Okay, remember that. There's no EQ without DQ. There's that emotional quotient. There's also a diversity quotient. Is a part of resilience. So I'm going to dive in really quickly because you might say, well, this is not diversity. What is Dr. Mitchem talking about? Well, I've been teaching diversity for almost 20 years. And I want you to know, so I'm coming at it as a psychotherapist, but I am taking things I've learned as a psychotherapist and translating that to everyday people and people in management executives. So there is no EQ without DQ. And let me tell you why. The concept of diversity intelligence, or the diversity quotient, refers to your ability to understand, appreciate, and effectively navigate diversity in all of its forms: race, culture, ethnicity, cultural and linguistic diversity, sexual orientation, age and ability, socioeconomic status, everything. It requires you to develop understanding of different perspectives and experiences and worldviews, because people bring all of their worldliness, all of their culture, ethnicity, their level of education, their personality, all of this. There's intersectionality of all these things. It doesn't have to be like the movie Crash. It can be wonderful, like that wonderful, fabulous tossed mixed salad that you get. Okay. So how can we bring together and appreciate all the diversities in the room to have that courageous conversation? Because maybe there's something that's triggering us about the diversity for which we are afraid of, or it's uncharted water, like the Twilight Zone, like, wow, there's too much diversity in the room. So when that person is very diverse is saying something, maybe they're diverse in age, maybe you're not accustomed to dealing with older people, or maybe you have a lot of young people. Maybe there are a lot of 21-year-olds and 18-year-olds, and they're great. But there's some people like, I don't know how to talk to those young people. So it could be, age. How can we be open-minded to embrace the diversity in the area of expertise and worldliness of everybody in the room? Some people say, well, 21-year-old can't teach me anything. Oh, yes, they can. They have a lot of worldliness at 21, believe it or not. They do, right? But how can we appreciate that in everybody? So anyway, like emotional intelligence, diversity intelligence is a skill that can be developed and improved over time with awareness, knowledge, skills, education, training, practice is critical in this diverse world where individuals and organizations must navigate complex problems and issues. So, diversity intelligence and emotional IQ, your diversity IQ, all that goes together, believe it or not, it all goes together. So, just want to touch on this, a couple more slides on this. Again, there are diverse perspectives in the room, and this helps with resiliency. If you can understand um, all of the diverse people and appreciate and celebrate their ideas, their angles, the way they look at things. It can help your team approach the challenges and develop this resiliency that you need. It improves capability, right? What is your capability? How do you improve that? Improve decision making. Studies show that diverse teams tend to make better decisions as a homogeneous group. When people from different backgrounds collaborate, communicate, become creative, appreciate alternative viewpoints, it really helps enhance so many things, including resilience. So that's something to think about. A little bit more, there's something called cognitive flexibility. Just embracing diversity promotes cognitive flexibility, which is the ability to switch between different ideas, perspectives, and approaches. There are different personalities in the room, diverse personalities. And sometimes you might not like the way someone's presenting it. There's some people that like engineers, or the person that deals probably with the money, or type A personality. They want to know in the first sentence of the email what the problem is, or in a meeting. They want to know in the first sentence and then the explanation. But there's some people that give 2 and 3 and 4 paragraphs. You get to the bottom and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what they're talking about because it's so long and it's like convoluted. But maybe that's the way that person was taught to communicate, and that's how they're wired. Let's appreciate that person and learn how to work with them. Okay. Adaptability to change. Um, Diversity and inclusion facilitate adaptability by fostering a culture that embraces change, encourages learning, and supports agility. Okay. Diverse teams are open to new ideas. And so you are open to new idea. You're here. It's great that a lot of people used to push back on wellness and mental health wellness and workplace resiliency, but now it's really being embraced and celebrated. Again, employee well-being and engagement. So, what we're going to talk about now, and I hope we're doing good on time, we have a lot of stuff to cover. Self-care strategies for wellness and resilience. So, you see that water? You have to do something that makes you you. What makes you whole? What makes you complete? Think about all the R words. How do you reinvent yourself? How can you refresh, recharge, reinvigorate? How can you do that every day? And I know you do that. This is tough work that you do. You all are taking care of your families, your life, your health, and so many things, your emotions. And then you come to work and you're taking care of other people. So, self-care strategies for wellness and resilience can be practiced at home and at work. But how can you set the atmosphere at work conducive to wellness? Positive affirmations. I would like you to say this out loud, but you can do it on mute if you want. It's fine. Repeat after me. I am making a positive difference in people's lives. I am capable of handling any challenge that comes my way. I am worthy of self-care and taking time for myself. I am resilient and can bounce back from setbacks. I am surrounded by a supportive team who values my contributions. It's important that when you look in the mirror, I want you to know that you're looking at the magic. The magic is in the mirror. The magic is you. What do you bring to the table? We choose happiness. We have to choose to have a wellness mindset, even if physically there are some challenges. When you have that positive mindset, and for some people, if you're faith-based, believe in God, your higher power, being positive can really help. And having some positive affirmations or a favorite prayer or something that you say so you can de-stress and you can de-escalate. If something's going on at work and you need a moment, go into your office, step outside, go to your car. At lunchtime, maybe go sit in your car and turn on, something positive like guided imagery, or repeat some of these positive affirmations. So, because we're talking about self-care strategies, I'm actually going to go through and do something with you. I tell people, don't talk about it, be about it. So I'm going to be about it. We're going to actually do something together if it's okay with everybody. We have a lot of people here, and I'm not going to hypnotize you. Yes, I'm a psychotherapist. I'm not doing psychotherapy. I'm just going to do a wellness exercise for you, guided imagery. I hope a lot of people like that. So what I invite you to do at this time, I invite you to turn off your camera and mute. And I'm going to go through a guided imagery for you, and something you can do in your office. You can do this in your car. And these are things you can do it as a group. Okay. Are you all ready? Okay, let's go. I would like you, I invite you to close your eyes. It's always an invitation because you never know why someone's not closing their eyes. So I invite you to close your eyes and start taking deep breaths. And we're going to take some deep breaths in and out. I would like you to count to maybe the number 4 or 5, whatever is comfortable for you, and breathe in deeply. Inhale, then exhale. Inhale and exhale. You can time it. If you like counting and you like to have a rhythm, you can do box breathing, which is to the count of 4, inhaling and exhaling. As you inhale, I want you to inhale all those things that you need. I want you to inhale peace, inhale love, inhale respect, inhale belonging, inhale compassion, inhale anything that you need, whether it be faith, quiet. And then when you exhale, exhale all those things that don't serve you well. While breathing deeply, I would like you to do something that relaxes you while you're sitting, like rolling your shoulders, perhaps. Rolling your shoulders, rolling your neck, all around, whatever is comfortable to you. Just rolling, and keep that deep breathing. Put your legs down flat. If you want to take off your shoes, you want to do some grounding and wiggle your fingers and your toes, you can press your toes and your feet into the ground, into the floor, into the carpet, into the tile. Try to relax your shoulders again and keep inhaling, exhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. I invite you to imagine you're standing on a beautiful beach somewhere. The sun is shining down on you. You're inhaling and exhaling. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. You can hear the sound of the waves crashing against the shore. And you can smell the salty, clean sea air. As you're breathing in and out, keep breathing. You're standing there, taking a moment to appreciate all the beauty around you. Look at the ocean and notice how vast and expansive it is. The water stretches out as far as the eye can see, and the waves come crashing onto the shore with a gentle rhythm. You are happy. You're embracing the wonders of the world. It's so amazing. It's peaceful. As you breathe in the fresh air, imagine that each breath is like a wave of calm washing over you. With each inhale, you feel a sense of peace and relaxation. With each exhale, you release any tension or stress that you may be holding on to. As you continue to breathe deeply, imagine that the waves are like your thoughts and emotions. Just as the waves come and go, your thoughts and emotions come and go as well. Some waves may be bigger and stronger than others, but they all eventually dissipate and return to the calm sea. Again, I invite you to close your eyes and keep breathing. Inhaling, 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling, relaxing, rolling your shoulders, shaking things out. Maybe shake your arms a little bit. Do some swaying motions, whatever you feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable sitting, stand up and do some swaying movements. It's very relaxing, or rocking. With each exhale, you release any tension or stress. As you continue to breathe in and out, you notice any thoughts or emotions that are coming up for you, and you can release them. Imagine that you are placing any thoughts that you don't want on a surfboard, and you're sending them out to sea. Watch as the surfboard floats away, taking your worries and concerns with it. As you stand there, feeling the warmth of the sun basking on your skin, and the sea and sand in front of you, the sand in between your toes, imagine that you're surrounded by a sense of peace, tranquility. Maybe you feel God. You feel that everything is going to be okay. You feel worthy. You feel worthy of happiness, worthy of respect, worthy of love, worthy of belonging. You're safe and protected here. You can let go of any worries or stress that you may be carrying. Just let it go. Keep breathing. Take a few more deep breaths in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhaling all that you need. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Take a moment to appreciate the sense of calm and relaxation that you have created for yourself. You did that. It costed you nothing. You don't need permission to take a self-care moment and go somewhere to maintain your bearing, maintain your equanimity, regain your sense of self and calm, and know that you choose happiness, not anybody, not anything around you. You can have compassion for others, but we can suffer from compassion fatigue. It's true. Remember that you can return to this peaceful state whenever you need to, simply by closing your eyes and imagining yourself back at the beach. Okay, so for more guided imagery, you can actually go to YouTube and you can type in guided imagery. And they have 5 or 10 minute, they have hundreds of them. You can pay for it on Calm on the app, or you can go to YouTube and get it for free. And you can do this anytime you need to. You know, it's like taking a moment to pause, a moment to reflect. It's like taking a moment of silence and being very very, you know, territorial about that. Take that moment that you need. So self-care strategies are so important. We talked about that. Creating a self-care plan, creating one for the work. What's a work self-care plan? Like a workplace resiliency plan. Um, you have to figure out how to reduce stress and practice mindfulness, but you have to be intentional. It's very important to be intentional. So here's some self-care strategies. Practice deep breathing. Take a few minutes each day to focus on your breath. Breath work is very important. You don't have to go to yoga, but breath work is very important to follow your breath, be intentional about it, focus on your breathing, your thoughts. We just did that. Inhale deeply through your nose, hold for a few seconds, exhale slowly through your mouth. Repeat this for a few minutes to calm your mind and reduce stress. This really does reduce stress. Getting enough sleep. Ideally, you should be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. What are you doing to prepare your mind and your body for sleep? Do you have a regimen? Do you take a hot bath, take a hot shower, put on some body oils, drink some calming sleepy time tea or some water? Do you go for a walk? What do you do to get the house quiet? Do you start turning down the lights, lowering, the noise in your household? Do you light a candle and meditate? Do you pray? Do you read? What do you do to prepare yourself to sleep? Sometimes, just like babies, taking a nice hot bath or a hot shower can help. And practicing some mindfulness, getting rid of all the social media. A lot of people have taken a break from social media for a year. They just get off of it because it could take up a lot of your time. You don't want to compare yourself to others. So getting rid of social media and getting sleep, cutting off your work schedule, exercise regularly, whatever your doctor says you can do, some type of exercise. You don't have to walk for an hour. I walk for 45 minutes to an hour, but sometimes if I only have 20 minutes, 20 minutes will do it. Find an activity that you enjoy, maybe yoga, running, swimming, tennis. Do something, but make it a part of your routine. But, they say people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. So if you write out and do a SWOT analysis to write out your goal, my goal is to get 30 minutes of exercise per day. Eventually, I want it to be 60 hours a day. That's your goal. Then remember, what are your strengths? My strengths and things that are on my side for working out is that I have some exercise clothes, I have some good running shoes. I have some time in my schedule. I know I start work at 8 o'clock, but maybe I can get up earlier. Maybe I can get up at 6 and go to the gym or just walk out in the neighborhood. I'm not sure. Or maybe in the evening, maybe at lunchtime. I know how to work out. I have some equipment. Weaknesses or areas for improvement. I don't always go to sleep on time. Opportunities. Create a list of opportunities. Join a gym. Join a class. Get a pal, like a workout buddy. That's always good. And what are some threats, real or perceived? Not having an accountability partner. A lot of times it's accountability. Okay. Spend time in nature. I talked a little bit today about grounding. Recently, I went on the Miccosukee Trail and it was lovely. I had never been on the Miccosukee Trail and it was really pretty out there. I went with a girlfriend. I said, hey, meet me on the Miccosukee Trail. We parked right next to Holy Comforter and we walked. And I was like, whoa, this is nice. I had never, you would think I'm from another land or something. I didn't know it was right there. It's beautiful. And I know there are many trails, so I really enjoyed it. But you can spend time in nature. It can help reduce stress, improve your mood, take a walk somewhere else, maybe go for a hike. There's a place that's 2 hours from Tallahassee you can do with maybe some people from work. I forgot that place is. 2 hours away. It has red dirt. and have a short trail and a long trail going towards Atlanta. Sit outside and enjoy the fresh air. Practice mindfulness. Again, we talked about mindfulness being the practice of being in the present, in the here and now, being fully engaged in what you're doing, not judging yourself, being non-judgmental. There's so many people that are not in the here and now and just enjoying this moment. Again, focusing on your breath, connecting with others. Social support is important, but what kind of social support? Going to social events is not necessarily social, support, because we can go to lots of events in Tallahassee. That's what I've learned. I moved to Tallahassee in 2015, and there are tons of social events. But social support is important. Make time to connect with friends and family, whether it's through a phone call, video chat, in person, maybe just having a cup of tea or coffee or some water or, protein shake. I don't know. But connect with others and be intentional about quality relationships. You can know lots of people, but who are the people you connect with on a heart-to-heart level? Okay. Part 3, eating healthy. Do you know that if you eat the wrong foods, it can contribute to stress, anxiety, depression? I know that everyone's not going to go gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free. I've been on a journey with that, but it's not for everybody. But what's just eating healthy? It can help reduce your stress, improve your overall health, help you to be resilient. Focus on eating, whole nutrient-dense foods. Limit your intake of processed and sugary foods. There's a lot of what I call sneaky sugar. There's a lot of stuff that you don't know has sugar, and the sneaky sugar that's in there. There's a lot of sneaky stuff in like diet soda, which is very bad for you. Anyway, look at what you're eating and eat things that fuel you. Would you put Kool-Aid in your gas tank? No. Would you pour some Coca-Cola in your gas tank? No. So you have to think about, yeah, your body is a temple and you have to be strong to be resilient at work and help those people that you're helping, all the stakeholders and all the recipients of the work that you do. So eating healthy and feeding your family healthy is so important. Take breaks throughout the day. If you're in management, don't be a micromanager. Please don't be. I encourage you. I'm not going to say don't. I encourage you not to be a micromanager. People need to take breaks. You don't know what someone's dealing with. They can have some issues. Maybe they're diabetic. Maybe they just need a break. Maybe they are having an anxiety attack or on the verge of it. It's important to take breaks. People learned, right? Through COVID, people learned that there's so much they can do without someone standing over them in an office. There's so much that could be done. I can get more done in 2 hours uninterrupted than being interrupted in an office for 8 hours. In 2 hours is so much you can get done. So take breaks, take a few minutes to stretch, go for a walk, take a few deep breaths, maybe say a prayer, some positive affirmations, practice gratitude. Practicing gratitude right now, I want you to think of something. Think of 3 things. Right now, you can write it down. I'm not going to ask you to share it. Think of 3 things that you're grateful for. Practicing gratitude can help shift your focus away from those negative thoughts. There's negative thoughts out there. They could be negative people. There are negative thoughts or negative people. There's some people that are going through something right now. They're in the dark. They're in the darkness. There's some people that are in the darkness and they're doing this. They're trying to pull you in. Choose not to go. They have their own challenges right now. But be grateful for whatever they bring to the table. You don't have to get pulled into their darkness, but encourage them. Maybe be a friend and say, how are you doing? Okay. Take a few minutes to reflect on what you're grateful for. A person, someone at work, a kind word, a kind gesture, a simple pleasure. Set boundaries. Boundaries are so important. We all have friends sometimes, or family members, or people that we help that don't have boundaries. Sometimes people have personality disorders, right? And again, that's another class I teach, diagnosis and all those kinds of classes. So anyway, I don't want to go there, but sometimes people are not well. Don't take it personally. That's the point of that. Try to meet people where they are and not judge them. Setting boundaries can help reduce stress. Learn to say no to things that don't align with your values and your priorities. Make time for the things that matter most to you. So, we're summarizing, we're getting to the end of our hour. How is workplace resilience achieved? There are many, many ways. Having courageous conversations, difficult dialogue, talking about what's not working, cultivating a climate and culture of appreciation, collaboration, right? Being flexible, not being rigid. Fairness and equitable resources for all team members. If we're offering one person something, offer somebody else. Communicating in a solution-focused manner. Remember, being solution-focused means that you're not looking in the rearview mirror crashing. So a solution-focused person is the person that not only has one solution, but they're like, hey, I have this solution. And if that doesn't work, Bob or Mary, or whoever, somebody else had an idea. Let's see how we can put our ideas together. I hadn't thought about that. Let's communicate. Solution-focused people have a plan A, B, and C. The person that's not solution-focused is a person that doesn't have any solutions. They're not on board, and they're kind of a naysayer, like, eh. And so it's okay. They could be going through something. You never know what they're dealing with. Don't get pulled into that. Continue being solution-focused. Recognize the efforts of all team members, right? They said together, everyone achieves more. I love to say teamwork makes the dream work. I know you all love that too. Teamwork really does make the dream work. So recognize other people. Having a philosophy of abundance is huge. I wrote about that a few years ago. Having a philosophy of abundance means that you complimenting someone and sharing resources, it doesn't take away from you. There's some people that don't want to compliment others because they have the philosophy of scarcity. Like if I compliment this person and say they're doing a good job, that's, taking away from me. So really mindset is huge here. Communicating clear expectations, adopting a humanistic approach, being humanistic, right? Being client-centered, being humanistic. That means being genuine, having empathy, being non-judgmental, right? Listening with an open heart. I want everyone to know that it's so important to listen, not only with your ears here, but listening with your third ear, listening with your heart, listening with your heart, being compassionate. Again, I've worked in Title I schools before as a school counselor, DCF, Department of Disability, and I've seen so many things. And I used to visit children that lived in poverty. 90% of my students were on free and reduced lunch, and we're always helping them. I've done a lot of social work, and those things can break your heart. But listen with an open heart. Listen with your third ear, with your heart. Thank you very much. At this time, I wanted to share my contact information and also open it up to ask LaShawn if there are questions. Do we have any questions?
We do have one comment in the chat from Lisa with Advantage Aging Solutions, and she says, it seems that the challenge for my agency is that we don't have a continual plan to address workplace wellness. Turnovers as teams means we need to be mindful that new team members need to be informed of our practices to maintain a positive work culture. But other than that comment there, we have no question.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for that comment. It is true. This is not a notion. This has to be intentional. Having workplace wellness has to be as intentional and as important as getting up and brushing your teeth and washing your face. Workplace wellness is a part of the productivity. It's the triple bottom line. How do we serve people in human services if we're not well? And we have to model it, practice it, try to make it's a part try to make it a part of your employee handbook, best practices, like a requirement that everyone go through some wellness training. If they're not here today, I noticed that you all are videotaping this. You're recording it rather, not videotaping, recording. And so that people say, you know what, we want you to have the resources. So we want to give you our pamphlet or our electronic, everything's electronic now, digital, resources. Also, I feel that if you talk about it and have a time for wellness in all of your meetings, if you just even if a moment just to you can do a wellness check. You can just have one little tip for wellness. You can it's nothing, it don't takes 1 minute. Maybe you can have that in your meetings just for 1 minute, 1 minute wellness. 1 minute, everybody remember today, we're just going to give you one little thing like remember to breathe, take time to stand up and stretch or something like that. You could stretch and walk around the office if you want to, but it has to be intentional. It should be in writing. It should be in the policy. And it takes everybody. It takes everybody being on board. There were a lot of people think, wellness, what is all that? Mental health wellness and resilience. Just do your work. Just get it done. Stop whining. It's not about whining. This really is about your mind, body, spirit balance and being whole and complete. At the end of the day, I want to show you something.
Dr. Mitchem,
Mhm.
really quick, I had a private message come in into the chat box, and this person is asking, they're in a senior leadership position, but of course they, do have a supervisor, and they're asking how would they approach this if the senior leader doesn't seem invested or interested in workplace resilience? What's a good step for them to take to try to implement this and infuse it in the culture?
Excellent. So what I would do, I would actually keep, I would keep bringing it up, but I would bring it up in a way that includes some of the research. And I can send you some of that. I would pull in some of the research to show what happens. And I pulled in a little bit of that today, and I'll give you specific resources to show this is research-based. This is evidence-based. This is not a notion. I think that when people are uncomfortable, again, there's a lot of people that get afraid when people are doing something different and they don't see the connection. People are not connecting the dots 360. So what happens, and as a professor and as an educator and as a trainer, people don't connect the dots. And when there's conflict situations sometimes that are, you have to have those courageous conversations. It's very important in a very calm way with compassion and kindness and gratitude, but with a mission to connect the dots for senior leadership, for executives at all levels to understand why this is important. Oh, I understand that, some people may not value this, but let me share with you. I would like to send you some information on that. And I would like to get it on your books to talk to you and hear some research on this. And here are some ways that other companies have incorporated wellness. I remember years ago reading an article. It was the CEO that came into Zappos, the shoe company, and they had intentional breaks throughout the day for people to talk to other people just to connect on a humanistic level, and that increased their productivity. So there's a lot of research. There's also case studies with corporations. And so I would keep revisiting that because it is a part of your DNA. Wellness is so important. It's not a taboo subject whatsoever. Even though I'm a psychotherapist, I'm not here psychoanalyzing anyone. We're just doing this. This is very psychoeducational, but it is about wellness on all different levels. And please, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at dr.mitchem@gmail.com. You can leave me a voicemail. You can go to my website. Psychology Today is there, not necessarily reach out to me. If people need help beyond EAP, I would definitely recommend that they go to Psychology Today and learn more about the people here locally, or they can go to a really good one is Headway or Talkspace, any of those, and to get some help if there's some challenges. But definitely, I want to share something with you real quick. And I'm going to stop sharing this right now. Stop sharing. Did I stop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So I want to share you something real quick. So when we are depleted, when your company, say you come in and your team has lots and lots of stuff to do, you come in and if you are practicing wellness at home, you come in and you're a full person, right? You're a full person, you're ready, you're like, hey, let's go, I'm ready. So what happens, you get in and somebody snaps at you or they say, that's not important, or you don't have the resources, your budget's been cut, you don't have it. And you feel like your team just lost something, like bam, right? Then you're going through and there's another issue, there's a crisis, and there's no time for wellness. And so right when you all have planned to do something for wellness, that was taking away another one. Whoa, let's do that one, right? And then you just go on every hour, something's happening, right? Then something happens in your personal life. Maybe you get a phone call or you get sick and bam, another part of you is like torn away, right? Then you get a bad evaluation or something, or someone doesn't appreciate you, and bam, or you didn't get a chance to eat lunch. You have a headache, a hunger headache. You're like, oh my God. Then maybe there was an interaction that you didn't know how to have the courageous conversation, and you felt like somebody was dismissive and rude, and you just felt like they tore you down. So bam, I want you to know, here you are. There you are at the end of the day. Look at that. That's not much. So every day we in this field have to renew, right? You have to recharge. You have to rebuild. You have to redefine that we do things, because what can you do with this? If you're not a whole person, how can you start the next day and this is where you are, you're diminished, right? Mind, body, spirit, you're diminished. So it's very important. Wellness is so important. So anyway, I want to say it has been an honor and a pleasure. I do wear many hats, but I love teaching. I've been a nerdy professor for almost 20 years and a psychotherapist, and I love people getting along. I was the baby of the family. I hate conflict, and so I like people to get along. And I just want to commend you, LaShawn, Justin, your team, for being so forward thinking and putting together these trainings. This is awesome. And thank everyone for all that you do and to serve all the children and families. And, you all do some really, really important work, and you do the heavy lifting. And I know this is not yoga, but I want you to know that the light within me honors and sees the light within you. And I want to say have a blessed day. And thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here with you today, and I don't take it for granted. Thank you.
Well, we definitely appreciate you, Dr. Mitchem. She's a friend and family of UPHS, and I've gotten a lot of private messages, gotten a couple emails. Looks like we may need to do a part 2, and this time do it in person. Those of you that are asking about workspace specific questions, Justin makes note of the chat. We will reach out to Dr. Mitchem and kind of see what's the best way to handle that. Like I said, it may very well be a part 2 that is focused on what you can do in the workplace, and in terms of policy and from a leadership standpoint. So stay tuned, because we're actually spending the summer months focusing on wellness and healing and that type of thing. So thank you all for very, very much for joining us. I know some of you hung around to kind of hear this last part. If for some reason you just joined us, we will make sure that you get the recording of the training, as well as I'm sure Dr. Mitchem will share those resources that she mentioned, and Justin will get those out. Be well, everybody. Be safe, and we will see you soon.